Welcome back to Hiking with Kathleen. In today's video, Shannon and I are camping at Pinery Provincial Park. We've been here for a week, we're going to be here for another couple of weeks, and I'm going to bring you along on the various hikes that I'm taking through the park. For instance, the Carolinian Trail and the trails that follow along the old Ausable Channel. There's a plethora of wildlife, including many bird species, reptiles. I'm going to show them all to you, so stay tuned in this part 1 episode. So we're out on the trail today. Shannon and I are going to be going on a hike very soon, and we're meeting up with friends of ours, Rod and Maria, and they're going to meet us here at the Carolinian Trail. This is a trail that I used to really enjoy when I worked here, and I haven't been on it probably for about 20 years. So I'll just film a little bit of the entrance of the trail here while I'm waiting for the others to show up. So the reason this trail has the name the Carolinian Trail is because it's the southernmost trail found here in the park. And we're not too far from Burley Campground. Burley Campground has some rare plant species. Some of them are orchids. And so it's not a campground that's open for as long in the season as the other campgrounds are. Riverside is the one that's open 24/7. Not all areas of it, certainly Area 1, where they have the permanent roofed structures, and that's where we go when we camp here in the wintertime. Dunes is the next one to open. Typically that happens around the Victoria Day weekend in May. And then this is the entranceway to Burley. Burley will not open until around July 1st or the weekend that's closest to that. So right now it just has the yellow gates locking it up so people cannot drive through there. Because the habitat is sensitive, it bears mentioning there's some rare plant species in there. It keeps the habitat with a reduced level of wear and tear through camping activities. So anyway, that's fine. What I really like is when I'm traveling along this patch, it means there's a lot less traffic. So when I hang out at Burley Bridge, that's actually where I was yesterday and got some really nice great blue heron footage. There's not a lot of traffic because nobody's going to that campground. So if anything, it might be people that are coming to the Carolinian Trail or just people that are driving by and not realizing that they can only go so far. If you look at the Pinery map, you'll see that Burley Campground backs up to Dunes Campground. The two are only separated by a yellow gate. And so when I worked here, we just had the key and we could just easily go from one to the other, because otherwise it takes forever to get to Burley because it's by road, it's the longest one to get to, or the farthest one away from the main gate. Okay, so we spent time last night, or I guess it was yesterday in the afternoon, with our friends Rod and Maria playing cards. We know them from our hometown, and so then we have a chance to meet up with them every now and again on the out on the camping trail. So that's always a lot of fun. Okay.
I want you to get me on my good side.
Oh my God. This is what happens when you win at euchre.
Maria says I turn into something quite unappealing, but that's not true.
So we just had a chance to stop and realize that this boardwalk crosses a dune. So the boardwalk serves a really important purpose. The stairs preserve the dune and protects it from us, from footsteps. So anyway, I warned these guys that there's lots of, steep areas, but that's the reason, is because they've got a series of stairs that cross over dunes. Oh my goodness. Yeah, some very nice large trees in here. Of course, some very large dead trees too. So it says this trail is 1.7 kilometers long, but as you can see with stairs, it's one that you have to have pretty good mobility to be able to go up and down those stairs. Oh, this is beautiful in here.
And what's that tree again? Because the bark.
What are you looking at?
These trees here.
So this is red pine right here. So we've got some large samples of red pine, and yeah, it's great because this area obviously hasn't been forested in a number of years. Okay, so what we have here is, this is a tulip tree, and the reason I noticed it without just going by is because a part of the flower had fallen to the ground, which is how the tree got its name. Let me see if I can find any. That's okay. So that's a part of the flower that's left over. So those are yellow flowers that with binoculars you can see, because typically, not this sample, but tulip trees grow tall and straight. And the leaves almost look like maple leaves. So that is a tulip tree leaf. Here's an example of what tulip trees should look like with tall and straight trunks. I mean, obviously, all trees can have some sort of defect because something changed, like this one here, during the time of its growth. So the reason the Carolinian Trail is given its name is because this is where there are some plants that are representative of the Carolinas in the US. So we have in Canada a Carolinian zone. So that would be an area where plants grow that are sort of in the southern boundary of that Carolinian flavor of plants. Yeah. So typically there's two main kinds of plants that grow as vines, and that's because they don't have the woody stem to support their own growth. So they have to climb up to the sunlight using the support of trees. So we have a lot of grapevine that is in the park. The one closest to me is Virginia creeper, and there's another one that's very interesting that I mentioned just a couple of videos ago. Poison ivy also can grow as a vine. So be very careful when you're leaning against a tree on your camping experience that you can identify it before you do that. Okay, so here's what's cool. This is a pond that I haven't seen for, as I say, about 20 years, and I wasn't sure if it was going to be all filled in or not, due to succession. Okay, so what's really cool is I can see across the way there is a beaver lodge. And, oh, there's two. Okay, you know what? I can't believe there'd be two beavers there, because this is such a small body of water. Now, the way you can tell if a beaver lodge is being used is it is cleared of all plant material. They're meticulous about keeping everything sort of cleaned up. But anyway, this is really great to be able to see that this is still open after, a couple of decades of my not being here to see how things have changed.
And at the end of it, they must have flipped a coin and he must have lost. And there was
As I was out for my hike, I found that this squirrel broke a branch, jumping through the trees away from another squirrel, and landed on the ground. As I looked at it, when it crawled off the trail and up a tree, it kind of looked like it was in shock or perhaps injured. Squirrels can have a pretty rough life. my favorite time to be out here. Shortly after dawn and before others start stirring about. So I woke up at 5, didn't hit the trail till about 6 o'clock in the morning. I wanted to be able to see what there was to see. My cameras don't work well in low light. And that's when I came across that female snapping turtle that was in an area of sand where she probably chose that area so that she could lay her eggs. She wasn't in the process of laying her eggs just yet, but I guess they test out a few spots before they actually do lay their batch of eggs. This is the old Ausable Channel. So this used to be where the Ausable River flowed through, past Port Franks, emptying out in Grand Bend. But the channel, this part in between, has basically been cut off at either end, and so it's like a large pond. And that's why you get to see things like these emergent plants that are growing in, and that's called succession. So where there was an open body of water, you get lily pads and other emergent plant species that can reach the ground, reach the silty bottom, and emerge from there. And so it changes it because it doesn't have the flow. Now there are certain areas that are deep. The area that is north of the bridge, I'm at the Store Bridge right now, and the canoe rentals are north of the bridge because that's where you can more easily paddle. Shannon and I are camping south of the Store Bridge, and we are on a site that is right along the old Ausable Channel. And we love our site because we've got a great view, and we are going to put our canoe in the water. So we arrived at Pinery just a couple of days ago. We moved from McGregor Point Provincial Park to Pinery a couple of days ago. And then yesterday we went home, got rid of the kayaks, and took with us the canoe. So we're looking forward to being able to get out and use that now. Okay, so we are just coming outside. We've had some dinner, and it's about 7 o'clock at night, and we have some new neighbors. So anyway, what happened today is I went for my hike, and I came back because it was extremely warm. It was in the low 30 degrees Celsius range. So I came back, and we actually had the air conditioning on. The weather changed like that. It became cold all of a sudden, and this was not even noon yet. And so anyway, the weather had really shifted. We got some rain. There was threats of high winds and things of that nature. So we really didn't know what to expect. But prior to all that happening, we were inside with the air conditioning on, and Shannon had a nap, and she was just looking out the window, and she said, "Oh, there's a frog on the table." So somebody put a frog that was crocheted on the table, and that's because we have an R-pod, and that is done as I guess it's like a club thing, and we didn't know that. We've never heard that before, and we've had it since 2019, 2020.
And there's our frog logo.
And so we have a frog logo, and I guess that's what people do is they kind of give you a frog that's representative of this, and the idea is you pass it along to some other R-pod owner. So anyway, so that was a cute thing that happened today. And so anyway, we're going to go out for a walk now. When I went out to the dock on the north side of the North Bridge, I saw something in the water that looked, I don't know, kind of like a big rock. And I had a closer look, and I realized it was a snapping turtle. Not only was it a snapping turtle, but it was a curious one. And it just kept swimming closer and closer to me. So my gaze just followed it as it got closer and closer to me and watched me from under the water. That was a really neat experience. So I'm kind of standing guard over this painted turtle that's laying her eggs. And I have contacted the park staff that monitor the egg laying so that they can put those protective cages over them. So they know that this painted turtle is laying her eggs. And regretfully, the day that I saw that snapping turtle laying her eggs, I made them aware after I ran into them because I didn't have a QR code, I didn't have a phone number. That wasn't handed to me when I was entering the park gate, so I didn't know that that was the quickest way to reach that staff. And they told me that that nest was predated, and that was just hours after that snapping turtle laid eggs. And they are more persecuted than, say, painted turtles because it takes them 18 years of age or so for the females to mature to the point where she can actually lay eggs. So that was regretful. Painted turtles have a quicker life cycle that way. I don't know exactly how many years it takes for them to become sexually mature. But so this painted turtle, she's been working away at this for probably about 40 minutes. So I made the staff aware, they're going to come by. And because this isn't a quick process, I mean, there's other cages they're laying out on sites they know have already had the eggs laid. So that's what they're doing right now. But anyway, if you come across a situation like that and you're in a provincial park, typically they will have this program where they will protect the eggs from predators. And if it's on a park trail that's, you know, in the city, if it's, you know, not all areas have these kinds of protective programs. I know in the City of London, Upper Thames River Conservation Authority, they have this program. They will collect the eggs, they will incubate the eggs. That's the best chance of reducing the risk of predation for vulnerable eggs because, of course, eggs can't get away from predators and they release the hatchlings back to the area where they were, where the eggs were laid. So in this case here, the staff at Pinery Provincial Park and probably other provincial parks lay that protective cage over it. So anyway, I'll wait a few more minutes, and if the staff member shows up, great. If not, I'll snap a picture and make sure they have a copy of that so they know exactly where that cluster of eggs has been laid. So I just got back to our site. It's about 8:30 p.m. And so I started off at the North Bridge. And what I did is I made my way back through the day use area, stopped off at the beach, and on my way along the main road to get back to Riverside Campground, I noticed in the other lane of traffic there was a snake image on the road and a car went right over it. And so I thought about it and I backed up. So I slowed down, backed up. It was in the other lane of traffic. Got out of the truck, and sure enough, it was a living snake that had not been hit. So all I did is I just escorted it off the road, and it very quickly moved across the road. But it was seeking the warmth of the road because, you know, now it's close to evening time and the temperatures are a little bit cooler. So that's a suggestion that if you see that there's an animal on the road, don't assume it's on the road because it's been hit. In that case, there was no damage to it at all, and it was able to just easily move itself across the road. So I'm happy because then I feel like, because this is the time of night now where people are coming in. It's a Friday night, so people are coming in and, you know, getting their site set up, or people are leaving to go to another area of the park. So there's more traffic on the road, and I kind of feel like I saved a snake's life. So anyway, all right, that's a wrap for today, and then I'll be back out again tomorrow. Join me next week for part 2 of camping at Pinery Provincial Park and see some of the wildlife that I've seen as I hike around the park, as well as a day trip Shannon and I took into Bayfield. See you then.